Today I came up with a really weird concept. Is not concept, just a little math idea. So, to understand anything fundamentally in maths, we just have to know its raw or unsimplified structure and play operation with that unsimplified structure. So you may ask, what do you mean by this? So suppose you have 2c times 2d. Now, many smart people, and I don't think I'm not considering, or I'm just not. They're actually smart to think because they think that 2c it is actually written in this form, 2c times 2d, because that's what actually is. And as order doesn't matter in multiplication, what they does, they just group the terms and they just write the final result. It's actually very smart. I'm not saying this, but I just said how to know fundamentally. If you does normal math and you don't have any interest in like knowing math or math results or something like this, you don't really need to know fundamentally. This type of knowing is enough for you to do some algebra in maths school, and you just do and do and do. You get better at it, and you're almost like just simple. But I want to understand fundamental whatever. Just forget it. Okay, this is pretty smart, but what does in this form actually means? When you have 2c times 2d. Now 2c, let's write this thing in the raw form and let's play the operation in the raw form. Now c plus c times d plus d. Now 2c means c plus c. Yep, it's actually what it means. It's just a simplified written form of c plus c. It's not doesn't mean that a completely different operation. Multiplication is just repeated addition in every single case. Yeah, see, for whole numbers it's just repeated addition according to the number that is getting multiplied with. And in case of fraction, it's still repeated addition, but with the numerator and denominator. Yep, that's what multiplication is. Repeated addition in every single case. So whatever. So when now we use the FOIL. I already explained FOIL, how we derived or how FOIL method actually works, what is actually it means. So FOIL, now we use FOIL and get CD plus CD plus CD plus CD. Now look, in this CD form, this is actually the answer in the original form, right? It's actually the answer in the original form. What we do is now get 4CD. Now it is the simplified form. Now it was the original form, or it was the unsimplified form and the simplified form. So to know any math structure fundamentally, you need to know, you have to play operation in its raw or in its unsimplified form. Then simplify the unsimplified result of that operation and you will get the result of the simplified expression. Let's do with something much more complex and get it much more clearly in our brain. So much more clearly can be thought with a much more hard of a quantity, which is suppose we have 2 times okay, let's, a is really hard to write here, so just write 2 times y squared times y. Now look, what does it mean? It means 2 times y. You always have to give bracket. Let me tell you why. Okay, let me just first write I hate this phone, right? Y times, so not here is not y squared, by the way, here is actually 2y, y plus y. Now how you say that this was its raw form? Now look what we had, 2y squared plus y2. How it actually came? It actually was its raw form. How? 2 times y squared. Y squared means y times y. Now if we just wrote 2 times y times y times y plus y. Now this whole thing is representing a single multiplication value, and this y is just getting added, but these two in this equation, these two y's are getting added, or 2y, but in this case we just have 1y. Completely different thing. Now you may again also, that means what it means, the brackets represent, we know in maths we just have to do the brackets first. So when you have to do the brackets first, that means this y plus y was simplified first, then this the brackets were simplified first. Now if we simplify this equation, we what to get, 2 times y squared times 2y. Look, it's just the unsimplified form. When you just get to the unsimplified, like when you get, suppose when you have 2y, what it means, the y plus y was simplified first, then it was like done in any, like any, what you gonna say, any expression. Like when you had 2y, 2y, 2x, 2c, 2d, 2xy, 2 3y, that means uh, 2xy or xy plus xy was simplified before, then it was used in expression. Like another example, what, now let's just give this example here, what I just meant here, that means this x plus xy and y plus x, y times y and y plus y was simplified before, or like how can I say, after simplification, 2 was multiplied y squared times 2y. That means 2y was multiplied with y squared after simplification, and the y squared was multiplied when y times y was simplified. After simplification of y times y, we multiplied 2 with it and 2y with it when we simplified y plus y. I think you have understood the whole concept. Now let's just um, play the operation in the raw form. So let's just multiply y time 2 times y times y. So what does 2 times y means? So you give first bracket because 2 because y plus y times y was multiplied with 2 first, so second bracket, like second bracket had to be done first. How? Let me tell you. Like now we write x, sorry, what the hell, now we write y times y uh, plus y times y as it was multiplied with y. Now why did we give the second bracket? Because it was multiplied with 2 first. It was multiplied with 2 first. Like now if we just simply, okay, let me write the oh man, what have I done, forgot to zoom. Now let's just write it again. X, I hate this form. Now when you have y times y plus y times y times y plus y. Now look, now if you just simplify it, what do you get? Simplify the first brackets, so you get y squared plus y squared times 2y. Now what do you get? 2y squared plus 2y. Look, I multiplied the y squared first. It proves. Like that's why you have to give the second bracket, because it just said you multiplied the 2 with it, or you just multiplied the y squared 2 times first, so you give a second bracket, so it just represents that. I think you understood it. So now let's FOIL it, as there is y plus y times y is a number. Like y squared is not equals to y, so it's a different value, but y is the component of that value, or structure of that value. So now you use FOIL. Now what you get is y times y plus y times y plus uh, y times y. I just use the FOIL method here, times y plus y times y times y plus y y. Now look, there are 4 y cube added. Look, 4 y cubes added. Now if we simplified our unsimplified final result, what we get? 4y cube. Now in this case, if we just understood in the normal people's way, what would you get? Like group the terms, 2 times 2 times y squared. Now I'll just write the result. 4y cube. Look, same answer, same method, just understood fundamentally. And we give the second, always remember, give the second bracket, because you multiplied with y. That means y was first simplified, second you multiplied, so second bracket for the first multiply, like as you multiplied with the 2 with the y, because it was really confusing. Like right now I cannot even think why I'm doing it, but I just got it somehow.